What does a screensaver actually do? Most early computer monitors contained a cathode ray tube, which projected images onto the screen using phosphor. If a certain image was left on the screen for too long, however, the phosphor could leave an imprint of it on the glass, a phenomenon known as burn-in. A single imprint might not ruin your device, but enough burn-in could eventually make it difficult to see things on your screen. So programmers created moving images, files aptly named screensavers, that would automatically jump into action whenever your screen was idle for too long. Over time, cathode ray tubes were replaced by liquid crystal displays, LCDs. Not only are LCD monitors smaller, lighter, and more energy efficient, they also run without phosphor, so you never have to worry about burn-in. While screensavers don't actually save very many screens these days, they're just as fun as they used to be. In fact, they might even be more fun since graphics are more complex and the internet has many more options to choose from. Why are oceans so salty? Most of the ocean's salt come from rocks. The dissolved carbon dioxide in rainwater makes it slightly acidic, and when rain falls, it erodes rocks on land. Minerals from these rocks leach into rivers and streams, which then carries the salts into the ocean. About 85% of the ocean's ions are sodium and chloride, while magnesium and sulfate make up around 10%. Not all salts that end up in the ocean stay there. Salt is a life-sustaining substance, and a lot of the ocean's salt is consumed by animals. But thanks to a steady supply of runoff from the surface, salinity levels are able to remain fairly constant. The ocean can count on one more source for its salt content: hydrothermal fluids. Deep-sea vents are heated by the magma from beneath the Earth's crust, and they get hot enough to cause chemical reactions between seawater and minerals from the surrounding rocks. Underwater volcanoes are another example of hot rocks and water adding more salt to the sea. Every part of the ocean is salty, but just how salty varies depending on where in the world you are. For example, surface water in the Mediterranean Sea is saltier than the equatorial Pacific because enhanced evaporation in a dry climate concentrates salt, while rain at the equator dilutes salt. Is it true that art was once an Olympic sport? There were in fact 5 different events in the art competitions: architecture, music, literature, painting, and sculpture. The works entered needed to be inspired in some way or another by sport. The events were further divided too, so poets weren't competing against authors and so on. There were even attempts to include things like dancing, film, photography, or theater in the mix, but they never were. The competitions began as part of the 1912 Olympics in Stockholm. The 1920 edition was similarly small on the artistic front, although the impact of the war probably had a bit to do with that. By 1924 in Paris, however, things were in full swing, with even 3 Soviet artists entering, despite Moscow's refusal to enter the Olympics athletically. In 1949, however, the IOC received a report arguing that almost all of the participants were professionals, which was a problem, since the Olympics were still meant to be amateur, only at this point, and opted to discontinue the events.